It's recap time. I bring you one more recap. Today I will be explaining an action thriller movie called The Last Kumite, released in the year 2024. The movie opens in a New York dojo where we meet a seasoned martial artist, Michael Rivers, training his daughter, Bree. After training, they both pay a visit to Samantha's grave, Michael's late wife, and Bree's late mother. Michael speaks with Samantha alone and mentions he's entering a martial arts tournament. Later, the tournament commences and contestants are fighting impressively while a blonde man named Ron Hall observes in the crowd. Michael beats his opponents and reaches the final round. Surprisingly, Michael wins the match. Bree and the crowd cheer for Michael as he gets the trophy for winning the tournament. The announcer mentions an after-party and invites everyone to join later at night. At night, Michael and Bree head to the party where they get approached by Ron Hall. Ron introduces himself and mentions a business proposal for Michael. Michael sends Bree home and agrees to join Ron for a drink. Ron offers Michael to join his real-life Kumite in Eastern Europe, where there are no childish rules like martial arts tournaments and the matches are fight till death, and the winner will get $1 million. Michael is not convinced because he has a daughter, so he heads home. Michael arrives home and finds Bree missing. He finds a message from Ron stating he has Bree and Michael needs to join his tournament. Michael gets furious and hops on a plane to Eastern Europe. There, Ron's henchmen drive him to Ron's mansion. Michael gets escorted to the fighting arena, where he sees dozens of other contestants. Leah Martin, the only female fighter among them, arrives right before Ron Hall enters the room to make his entrance and welcomes all the fighters. Two fighters get impatient and yell at Ron to release their partners, but Ron's guard shoots them both in the head. On the other hand, we see the captives in the prison cell underneath the arena, including Bree. Ron tells everyone the rules of the Kumite, which are to fight to death, and the winner gets $1 million and their loved ones back. He mentions they can use his drivers to drive into the town for supplies, but don't bother going to the police because they work for him. Ron mentions there's a training center for all of them and introduces Chris, his servant, who will show everyone to their rooms. Suddenly, another fighter named Draco enters the room. Ron introduces Draco as his undefeated champion as he takes a look at everyone and threatens to kill all of them. Now, everyone heads to their room. Chris takes Michael to his room, where Michael asks Chris if he knows anyone who came close to beating Draco. Chris mentions knowing a man named Lauren, who knows how Draco fights, and agrees to arrange a meeting with him for Michael. Leah now chats with another fighter named Damon Spears. Leah is here because Ron had kidnapped her sister, whereas Damon mentions his wife got kidnapped. He decides to stand against Ron and heads out. He asks a driver to drive him into the town, where he secretly makes his way to the police station and files a complaint against Ron Hall. The officer takes Damon to his senior detective. Damon sits with Detective Dobrev and mentions forcefully fighting in Ron Hall's Kumite and witnessing two men getting shot in the head. Meanwhile, Chris introduces Michael to Lauren, who's an old cleaner. Back at the station, Dobrev mentions being useless when it comes to standing against Ron Hall. Now, Lauren mentions fighting Ron Hall in the past life when Kumite was special. He reveals Ron introduced killing his opponents in the Kumite, and when he refused to fight Ron, Ron killed Lauren's wife in front of him and then kidnapped his daughter. On the other hand, Detective Dobrev mentions Ron Hall controls the underworld and even the American embassy, who visit his parties and his tournaments. Michael requests Lauren to teach him to defeat Draco, so Lauren agrees. Damon gets disappointed and leaves the station. Back at Ron's mansion, Bree gets to know the other prisoners, who are Leah's sister and Damon's wife. The next day, Lauren introduces a sparring partner for Michael named Lightning, who will increase Michael's speed. Michael spars with him, while in the training center, Leah gets confronted by a fighter named Marcus, who's here only for the money. He gets into an argument with her, so Damon breaks them up. Now Michael trains with another fighter. Afterward, Michael fights a fighter named Chameleon, who keeps throwing Michael on the floor. Michael is hurt, so Lauren suggests meeting a healer named Jen. He meets with Jen, who hands Michael a balm. She mentions applying it 4 times a day to heal his pain. At night, Michael meets up with Leah and Damon. Damon reveals going to the police, but it was useless. Michael suggests coming up with a plan so no one has to die. Suddenly, they get a call from Ron. Ron shows them their family members being held captive. Ron tells Damon and the rest to behave because he is listening to them, otherwise there will be consequences. The next morning, Michael continues his training with Lauren outside of the mansion, while Ron oversees Draco's training, where he viciously beats his sparring partners. Lauren now introduces Michael to a woman named Julie Jackson. Julie was Draco's former sensei and knows how to beat Draco. Michael continues his intense workout while Draco trains with another fighter and beats him mercilessly. The next morning, Michael wakes up and watches videos of his family. He gets back to sparring, but this time with all three of his sparring partners. Chameleon knocks down Michael again, so Julie tells him that Draco's gonna knock him even harder and he might die, and that means his daughter will also die. So he needs to channel all of his energy to knock Draco's head off. Michael rises again, and this time defeats all three of his sparring partners alone. A montage shows all of the fighters training, and now it's the day of the Kumite. Lauren escorts Michael to the arena as Ron welcomes the crowd and commences the tournament. The first match is Kurt Thornton, Marcus's partner, versus Draco. Draco knocks out Kurt with one punch and twists his neck as the crowd root for him. Marcus is heartbroken, but next up is him against a giant man named Taylor. Taylor proves to be a challenge for Marcus, but Marcus eventually beats him. More brutal fights ensue, and now it's Damon's turn. Damon faces an acrobatic younger challenger, but all it takes is one kick to the face, and Damon is on top. Next up is Anthony Pitt against Master Lee. Master Lee displays impressive kung fu skills and beats his Mexican opponent. Leah faces an opponent much bigger than her, but that doesn't frighten her. She knocks him down and defeats him by bashing his throat. Next up is a Jamaican fighter against a muscular Asian fighter. The Asian overpowers him and still manages to lose to the Jamaican. Subsequently, it's Michael's turn. He faces Palenka, and both fighters start raining kicks on each other, but Michael's double kick to the face seals the deal. Ron ends the matches for today. The next day, the matches commence, with Master Lee against a black fighter. Master Lee tries to fight, but loses the fight after getting beaten up senselessly. The following match is of Marcus against Draco. Marcus tries to fight, but Draco overpowers him. Ron gives him the signal to kill Marcus, but Michael intervenes and stops Draco. Ron breaks them up and pits Leah and Damon against each other for the next round. Damon is slow because he is older, so Leah tags him and injures his shoulder and wins the match. Next up is Michael against the Jamaican. The Jamaican puts up a good fight, but Michael slams him with his forearm and wins the match. Ron announces that tomorrow will be the final 3 rounds, and the winner will get $1 million. Afterwards, Leah joins Damon in his room, where Damon mentions rescuing their loved ones tomorrow during the finals, so Leah vouches to join too. Meanwhile, Ron is concerned for Michael and plans to sabotage him through his henchmen. Later at night, Ron's men break into Michael's room. They cut his arm and leave. Meanwhile, Marcus approaches Detective Dobrev. Now, Jen patches Michael as Lauren gives him hope to beat Draco. Otherwise, his daughter's life is in jeopardy. The next day, it's the final rounds, and it's Leah facing Draco. Leah puts up a fight against Draco, but Draco smacks her to the ground. He decides to end her life, but Ron signals him not. Draco walks away, and it's Michael's round against the big black fighter. Michael knocks him down, but his opponent manages to overpower him. Michael punches him 3 times and kicks his face. He wins, but his arm's busted. Jen arrives quickly and tends to Michael's wound. Now Damon and Leah rescue their family. They knock out the guard, but he manages to alert Wolf. On the other hand, the final round between Michael and Draco begins. Draco instantly attacks Michael's wound. Meanwhile, Wolf enters the holding cells and attacks Damon and Leah. They try to beat him while Michael holds off Draco. Leah and Damon manage to handcuff Wolf to the bar and escape with everyone. The head upstairs is where Michael sees Bree and gets distracted. Draco knocks out Michael, so Bree comes running. She encourages him and reminds him of what he taught her. Michael gets up and punches the blood showers out of Draco. Draco still manages to fight, but gets slammed to the ground when Michael hits him with a super kick and defeats him. Michael celebrates his victory, but suddenly Detective Dobrev arrives to arrest Ron Hall along with Marcus, who is an undercover cop. Ron runs away, but Lauren chases him. Ron grabs a machete along the way and gets confronted by Lauren, who wants to exact his long-awaited revenge. They both fight, and Lauren snatches the machete and cuts Ron's chest. He fights Ron hand to hand and beats him to the ground. He tries to end Ron, but Michael stops him. Marcus arrives and mentions being undercover for years to arrest Ron. He promises Lauren that he will find his daughter and bring Ron to justice. Marcus takes Ron away as everyone is reunited with their loved ones. They all leave together, while Draco wakes up and finds Julie standing in front of him, who kicks his head and ends him for good. Sometime later, Lauren gets approached by a young girl who happens to be his daughter. Lauren gets reunited with his daughter, and the movie ends here. I hope you liked this movie recap. Please comment down on what you liked about this movie and what scene you liked, and don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video.